So hello everyone, we're back again
Hello.
for another interview. Today, the person we have, the very special person we have, is Rodrigo Sopeña, one of the director and writers of Fire Extinguisher, one of the short films you saw on the 2nd of September Cinebooth live event episode. So first of all, let's make Rodrigo talk. Please tell us who you are and why are you here, basically.
Well, I am Rodrigo Sopeña. I am 43 years old, and I work in television in Spain the last 20 years as a director and writer in entertaining television programs, stand-up comedy TV shows, and a lot of entertaining productions. But this little short we are going to watch is something different because it was made in a workshop with Mr. Asghar Farhadi, the twice winner in
Exactly, winner of the Academy Award, exactly, the Oscar,
yes.
the all famous Oscar.
Yes.
So we're talking about big names. And you explained to me briefly that this was on a workshop, right?
Yes, this was a workshop last year with Mr. Asghar Farhadi in Pamplona, near Pamplona, in a small village near Pamplona. And during 10 days, we were with Mr. Farhadi, and he made us to make a short film. But we don't know we are going to make a short film. The first thing he asked us to do was a picture with our camera, and something that we feel interesting. I make a picture of a church with a fire extinguisher because I feel this was a funny thing. And then he asked us to make a short film starting with the picture everyone made.
Okay, interesting,
Yes.
interesting.
Because he thinks, Asghar Farhadi thinks, if you are thinking about an idea to make a short film, perhaps you will think in a general ideas. I will make a short film about revenge, about love, but it usually made it's not a good idea because you are trying to think in a high level, and you are trying to be so ambitious when you do this. But if you think in a story, in a little story about a picture that you think is something interesting, you made a short film that perhaps is possible to read in different layers.
Exactly.
It's a little
Yeah.
story, but perhaps this story talks about more things that you are thinking about when you made it.
Exactly. I mean, I agree absolutely. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It happens a lot, especially I don't know what was exactly the average level of people that came to the workshop, but for example, you see a lot that the first time you want to do a short film, the story you have is always too big for what you actually have to do. So the technique you're saying makes a lot of sense, actually getting something small like an image, one picture, and then trying to create a 4, 5 minute, 6, 7, 10 minute maybe story about a simple image, like in this case a church with with a fire extinguisher besides it. So yeah, that sounds fabulous. um, Regarding fire extinguisher, you have your own quite strong career line yourself. And there was also Joana Solnado, the
Yes.
co-director, which also has a quite strong career behind her. So why were there so many high tier people, high talent people on that workshop? I'm curious now.
If you work making movies, you always have a lot of things to learn. And if you are making movies with Asghar Farhadi mentoring your job, there's impossible to be overqualified to this situation, because Asghar Farhadi wins 2 Oscars.
Well, tell me about the actual shooting and how was the experience for you? Like actually recording it, doing that specific short film. How would you say was that, like working with Joanna and all of that?
We have the camera only 4 hours. Everything was made in a rush, um, without storyboard, without planification, without a script. We don't make a script job. We don't have papers in this shooting. Virginia works in that house, in the house that appears in the short film, and I tell his lines, and he repeat it in the same moment. I tell him, Virginia, now say lo que tú quieras, yo lo haré, and she repeats it, and it works. Because I think perhaps making movies, people thinks the things too much, and
Exactly, people think things too much. Yes.
yeah, in television it doesn't happen. In television everything is more fresh, but in cinema, making movies, everything is too much planified, and sometimes doing the things impromptu in this way is better. I feel better doing the things without so much planification, so much previous thinking work, and this was made in 4 hours, and it works.
Exactly. And the end result is actually quite good. I mean, I was quite impressed by it. I mean, especially with the actress being a first timer, and the idea was extremely simple, but but for me it works because it has that very fascinating combinations of elements. The church is very nicely used, and obviously, I mean, it manages to do the classical point of trying to analyze faith and how and what's going to happen on a situation where reality clashes with faith. Like you need to install a fire extinguisher in a church, but that's violating, that's breaking the sanctity code, the holiness of the place. So what's going to happen when that clash of circumstance and reality clashes with faith and religion? And I think the way you went about it, guys, was actually quite smart. And obviously, it played a little bit with having this supernatural element. There's a small miracle happening in the story. I remember that on some of the liner notes you sent us, you mentioned that at the very end of the shot, we can see a Geiger counter making sound. Like the radiation Geiger counter. So what's behind that? Why is that happening there?
Well, because you are making a film about communication with God, but we are in 2019, and you need a sound that sounds actual when she talks with God. It's sounding a Geiger radiation counter. Yes, I thought it was a modern way to communicate with God, because we are always somebody is used, violin music is used to, but this is a bizarre communication with God. When you watch the movie, you don't know if she's mad, if she's insane, or she talks to God. And this sound works in the two layers.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's not a peaceful sound. It's not. It's a sound that makes feel not peaceful.
Exactly. It is subtle. It is subtle at the same time that you notice it, but it doesn't have that much meaning built onto it, so it can mean many things. In that sense, it's really open to interpretation, and it's quite open. So yeah, I mean, that works absolutely. One question: so if you had to compare, can you imagine doing more stuff like this short on your career, or do you think that you are already too established in doing heavy television projects and film to go back to doing little short films like this one?
I feel that the important is the stories and the feeling when you are making audiovisual content. I directed a TV series to children. I directed a feature film. I directed some entertainment TV shows, and I feel fine in every language. I think I never did a short film before. This is my first short film, and it's very funny to make something with a very little crew and very uh, without budget, without a lot of resources, but I don't know if if I
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I mean, exactly, that's the same. You come from being from always from the very beginning doing professional projects that are very established. But what you're saying is true. Like, let's say, short films done like this, like on very short notice, with almost no resources, what we could call guerrilla filmmaking, cine de guerrilla. Uh, it has its own charm. It has its own good things about it. It has its good points. Like, it has that feeling of adventure, of a little bit of risk, and of being able to change things very fast. And it has a sense of fun. It feels like there's less stress uh, built onto it. Like, you can improvise a little bit more depending on the situation. And depending on the situation, it's kind of like playing around with friends, so that can be nice too. But yeah, I mean, for example, if you like, we can talk a little bit more about, for example, your experience, your actual industry professional experience. Like, for example, just looking through it, um, because obviously it's not projects that have been done in English. So most people that are watching this have unfortunately no idea, but you actually have a body of work that's actually quite big and strong. Like, for example, you work on Fermat's room, La Habitación de Fermat, with Luis Pirahita. You have projects that have been basically shown at festivals like Sitges, Tribeca. You got an Best Screenplay Award. Tell us more about that kind of stuff.
I directed Fermat's Room with Luis Piedrahita. It was shown in England. This is a mystery film with 4 characters and a host that in a shrinking room. I like the film, but Luis and I suffered a lot of making this film because this was the first film for too much people in the crew, including us, and we suffer a lot. We think about not making films anymore. Not making films anymore. I love TV because in television everything is fast and you can make something. You have the audience ratings the day before. You make something different to improve these ratings, and it's alive because making movies is so slow, and when you watch this in a screen, you are tired.
Exactly.
This is dead. But television is alive. Television is more fresh. And I didn't make movies, and I do a lot of television, TV shows. I prefer doing this. But the short films is a way to make something like movies, but without the stress, without the suffering, without all these suffering things. Which I suffer a lot of, maybe Fermat's room. And I made the Club Houdini, the TV series for children for Disney Channel, and it was very fun to make because it's with children 8 years old and looking for clues, keys, finding treasures. It's an adventure TV show, and I enjoy it very, very much.
Yeah, I mean, this will be a good moment to point out that, for example, most people that are watching this, they are not aware that basically these were productions, all of them produced in Spain. That for people like me, that I come from Spain, all of these names sound quite big to me, in the sense that all of these stuff that I've been growing up with and I've been hearing as it was coming out, and it was quite really publicized, and it was part of popular culture on the on this country. So basically, yeah, it's kind of a big deal to actually have Rodrigo Sopeña talking to us today. You have no idea, guys. So then I'm going to prod a little bit more into that, and please go on and say which do you think have been your favorite projects from the stuff you've done in the past?
My favorite project that I made.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite project is a comic book. I published it 1 year ago. The Last Gambler, El Último Taur, yes, is a Western about an historical character, Ernase. He was a gambler that he wrote the first book about magic tricks. And this is my favorite project because I think about it 20 years ago. I wrote it as a script for the big screen, but later I reconverted it to a comic book script. And this project lived with me 20 years. And this year, well, in November 2019, it was published. And it's published in Spain, it's published in Holland, and this is my favorite project.
Wow, amazing! So now that is very interesting. So how long is this comic book?
It's 132 pages.
Wow, that's basically a graphic novel. Literally a graphic novel.
It's a graphic novel. Yes, it's a
yeah. So basically, you do the writing, right? So who does the art?
Juan de Pozuelo is the artist. He usually made the storyboards in movies.
I see.
He made a lot of storyboard. He's a storyboarder, but he never made a graphic novel. I never made a graphic novel until this point. And this is our first graphic novel, The Last Gambler.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, I'm going to literally look that up literally after I start talking to you, because I'm a really big comic book guy, in the sense that I've organized comic.
El Último Taur.
El Último Taur. Okay, that rings more of a bell. That actually seems like I've heard somebody talking to me about it then, from Australia.
It's a very interesting story, the real story, because he made Ernase made a book to learn how to make tricks with cards, but to fool the other people, to make tricks to earn the money, the other players in the poker table. And when he published this book, the other gamblers wanted to kill him, and he disappeared. He signed his book with not with his real name. We don't know his real name. We know he signed as Ernase in 1902 in Chicago, and he disappears. He's a very, very mysterious character, absolutely unknown. Even the American people, they don't know nothing about this character because this character is absolutely mysterious. I made this graphic novel thinking about his possible life because we don't know anything about him. But I invented his life, and I made like something that happens in Forrest Gump, the movie, and the main character is in some historical moments, and I made it with my character, and he's in some historical moments in these years.
Well, that sounds amazing. And now that you mention it, you know, just hearing about it, that sounds actually like a very interesting premise for an actual film. I don't know if you're up for it, you could try doing something like that. But even then, that's the nice thing about actually having a story and the advantage of having all of these different forms of media you can use. Like if it doesn't work out in film or television, you can do it in comics. Like there's great filmmakers, like for example Alejandro Jodorowsky. You probably know the name, right?
Yes.
Like legendary filmmaker, he has like tons of movies that, for obvious reasons, cannot be made, and his alternative was literally doing that. He's now publishing them on comic book form. He just published last year a comic book sequel to his legendary film El Topo. He just did the sequel, Los Hijos del Topo, the Sons of El Topo. So yeah, so that, I mean, that sounds quite exciting, and I'm really interested in going and looking for this comic book, The Last Gambler, because yeah, it just basically for me it feels like getting to read or watch this mystery phantom film that hasn't been made yet, maybe. So yeah. So we'll see about that one. Then I'm wondering which next are there any other film or television projects that you have cooking up right now?
Yes, I am working in a TV show for Amazon Prime in Spain, but it's top secret. I can't tell anything about it because it's not published and it's a secret. But now I am working in this show.
Very so for example, you had a very successful professional career. How did that start? What would you say was the big? How did that route? How does that career get made?
I love television. I work in television 20 years, and I feel fine making TV shows. But I feel people around me, they are always thinking in cinema because they think that movies is a higher level. If you are happy making a graphic novel, comic book, you is better because you are happy in every language.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. And how did you get started? How did your career actually start? Where did you study, and how did you actually get into working in television? Because that's a really big barrier to break at the very beginning.
That's okay. In Spain, 20 years ago, nobody knows what stand-up comedy was. But I watched the Seinfeld TV series. I watched it with Luis Piedrahita because Luis Piedrahita is one of the best comedians in stand-up comedy in Spain. But 20 years ago, we watched the Seinfeld TV series, and it blows our minds. We love this way to make fun with real things, with no jokes, the observation, the real things of making observations of real things. And in a TV production company in Spain, Globo Media, they were making El Club de la Comedia. It was a show, a stand-up comedy show. And Luis and I went there, and we asked for the human resources man, and we tell him we want to work here. We want to make this stand-up comedy TV show we want to write in it. And they asked us to make una prueba, or to make
basically a test pilot, yes, something like that.
And they asked us to write a stand-up comedy text about airports. Luis and I went to the Barajas Madrid airport. We passed all night at the airport, watching everything and taking notes. And the next day, we went to the production company and we showed our stand-up comedy text. And I don't know if they like this text, but they like we were working together as a team. And and we start to work in this show. And this show was very prestigious because people feels that was very difficult to make a stand-up text without props, without attrezzo, without anything, with a brick wall behind. And in that moment in Spain, if you worked in El Club de la Comedia, you can work everywhere because they feel it was a very difficult TV show to write in. And then I work in another show, I love magic, and and Luis and I directed a TV show, a magic TV show in Spain. I directed a lot of TV shows about magic in Spain because magic, I love magic, and I am very interested in the history of magic, and everything around the magic I love. I work for all the TV channels in Spain. I work for Cuatro, Televisión Española, Disney Channel, Amazon Prime España.
I know that basically it is kind of a small world, the television world in Spain. So it's like it is very easy to actually jump from one to the other. In theory, it's just a matter of being there, knowing the people, and having and knowing the people that are putting together a project or a show that's going to be shown, and that's basically how you get there.
Yeah, in Spain we have a very high level television. In Spain we shoot 60 or 70 TV series in a year. It's a lot of TV series. In Italy, they broadcast our TV series in prime time.
If you could recommend one film that you think that everybody should see, which one would it be?
A Clockwork Orange.
Aha.
Yes. A Clockwork Orange asks you, what is better, to be free and make evil things, or to be a slave and do good things to society? And the movie don't take part. You can think in a way on the other way. The audience may think is better the first thing or is better the second thing, but the movie don't take part. And now we watch a lot of movies that they take part, the bad people, the good people. You watch these movies and you have nothing to think about because they give you everything thought. And that's the reason I love, and I think A Clockwork Orange is one of the best films.
That's an amazing way to describe A Clockwork Orange. So anybody who hasn't seen A Clockwork Orange, please run now. It's by Stanley Kubrick. It is amazing, and Rodrigo is recommending it personally, so it must be good, right? So thank you for that. You have superb taste, I may add. I mean, on that note, what I'm going to say is that it's been an extreme pleasure to talk with you, and a really nice surprise to actually have a short with your participation on the show, which was something unlikely, if I may say so. The thing is that what I would like to say is to take this chance to say that if there's any other project that you do in the future that you think could fit in what Cinebooth is doing, please feel free to send any projects you may do in the future or that you have done in the past, and it will be a pleasure us to show it and then to have another interview like this, because it will just be an immense pleasure to have you back and keep talking about filmmaking, about techniques, about theory, or about industry, or about anything you want to talk about. We're here for that.
Thank you.
No problem at all. So I would just say, is there any last comment you'd like to make, or anything you'd like to say to the audience, or anything you'd like to talk about?
Well, yes, I have something to recommend. Take the camera and go to make a movie today or tomorrow, in 10 days maximum. Don't think 3 years with a script. Don't rewrite your script 3, 4, 5, 16, 1,000 times. This is good, okay, but now take your camera and shoot something just now.
Extremely good advice. Anything that you do is going to be helpful on the long line. So, in that sense, sadly, we have to be saying goodbye for now. But I'm really looking forward to keeping in touch with you and having you back for any occasion that you see that you think it could be possible. Anyway, I have your contact now. So down the line, probably you'll be hearing from us for one reason or another. And hopefully we'll have more shorts or projects or anything we can do from you and with you. So on that note, I hope you have a lovely evening. I hope you rest well, very well deserved rest, and I'll see you, and I'm going to see you another time. So Rodrigo, let's say goodbye to the audience now.
Okay, goodbye.
See you guys. See you next time
At the movies.
Goodbye. Yeah.